So, before I get into this, what I want to say is I'm going to say a lot of things that are anti Israel. And of course, some of you have been labeling me a Nazi, which is laughable. It's very, it's actually laughable because technically I have what would be referred to as Semitic ancestry. My family is from the Mediterranean. I have relatives. If you look at my oldest brother, he looks Arabic because we have our family comes from the Mediterranean. We came from a long history of people with Phoenician and Greek heritage, and of course, as if anybody knows their history, um, Israel and the Phoenicians are genetically the same people. They were not distant, located apart from the world. They are literally the same people ethnically when it comes to the genes, which is why you'll see, like, in the New Testament that the chosen people are referred to as the Jews and the Greeks, who are supposedly the ones who receive salvation first. And this is written in the New Testament. And I don't believe in that either. I don't really believe in any of that shit. Even though I have it, even though I have, like, in my ancestry, Semitic ethnicity, I don't believe in it. So when I'm here renouncing this bullshit Mediterranean belief system and these Abrahamic religious wars and things like that, I'm saying that as one of those people. I have that. That's my ethnicity. I believe in, I come from this. My family comes from a long line of Arabic ancestry. So people are trying to label me like this anti-Semitic Nazi. Go fuck yourself. That's laughable. And you can say whatever you want, but baby boy, I don't care. I don't care. Go stalk somebody else. That being said, yes, I have Semitic ancestry. I am Semitic. And I don't agree with the modern definitions of Israel or the Jewish people. I don't believe in any of it. I don't believe in that stuff. I never have. There was a time, I think, when I was a kid that I really did believe in it, but that was so long ago that, like, I can't even tell you how much of it I actually believed in. And there was times where I wanted to believe in it, but I don't. The Torah is nonsense. The Old Testament's nonsense, and I renounce it. I denounce it, and I denounce Israel's existence. I don't believe in it. I don't believe that people have the right to steal from other Semitic people, and the Palestinians are Semitic also. These Jewish people who are claiming that they're some special tribe, they're not. They're not. Go do your world history. The Jewish people, the original Jewish people from 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, were ethnically the same people that we refer to today as, the Palestinians or the Lebanese, and who were originally ancient, related to the Phoenicians. They are the same people. In order for them to be ethnically different, they would have to have existed in isolated remote areas where their gene pool was evolving separately from each other, and that's never been the case. They are ethnically the same people. They're trying to claim that there's some special gene, some special religious thing created by God, and that's delusional beyond delusional. There is no God who created some magical, like, gene that is the God gene. There's no such thing as the God gene. There is no such thing as chosen people. They are all ancient Arabic, Mediterranean people. And today, they're all at war for control over the Middle East, and they're very much at war with humanity for control over resources and privileges. And that's toxic as fuck. Toxic as fuck. Not to mention the homophobia rampant in these Abrahamic belief systems. Toxic as fuck. Again, I am Semitic, so go ahead and keep Viper, you fucking psycho stalker, you pathetic loser. Keep spreading your bullshit. Keep spreading lies about me. Keep stalking my fucking content. Keep running your little faggot fucking mouth. You'll never be fucking part of our gene pool. It's not my fault. You're just a pathetic little European loser who hates himself. I'm European too. I can say that about you. Suck my fucking dick, faggot. Moving forward, let's talk about today's topic, which is the impending World War III between my people and humanity. And I'm telling you that I believe that there is a high chance that World War III is going to, in fact, erupt. And I will tell you why. And I've been predicting this for years, and it's unfolding. And you can speak to, you know what, I can't name people by name anymore because this community is so crazy. But you can speak to people who know me personally from Graal. And there's some of you, and you know who you are, and you know who the people are who are my close friends. Talk to them, and you'll know that there is indeed enough evidence, and we've been predicting this for years, and it's happening. So, right now we have a war erupting in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas. I don't know if many of you know about the history of Israel or whatever, but as many of you know, I do not support Israel's existence per se. I'm not like entirely against it. I don't support it. Obviously, many people have been trying to leverage that to label me as some type of Nazi or something, mostly Viper, because he's a psychopath and a stalker. And he's really miserable and he has nothing to do. But there's a number of us in this community who I've spoken with and have years ago predicted that we were going to erupt into a war around this time and that Israel is going to be at the center of it. And I want you to know that that's not because of some religious belief. It's largely because of an astrological alignment. And I do believe in astrological alignments. I do not believe that the Torah is the word of God. And so what we have happening in the Middle East is a dispute between a country who has very, very vastly skewed the World War II, Nazi Germany narrative for their own gain. And they've gained trillions, I would say probably about $1 trillion worth of reparations and donations over the years. An enormous amount of money that doesn't belong to them. Because there were, technically, if you want to go way back, anyway, before we get too deep into history, I want to talk about how moving forward, I do believe that it's highly likely that we are going to erupt into not just World War III, but also a civil war, and Israel is going to potentially simply be erased. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out. But what I do know from astrology, and this is something that I've studied most of my life, is astrology. And as most of you know, I'm not religious. I am spiritual. I believe that we are at a crux of many astrological alignments, and I think you all should be prepared. You should be prepared because when it comes to religious prophecies, those come and go like the wind. But when it comes to astrological alignments, they tend to line up with history in a way that's not only undeniable, but I do believe that the solar system itself is very much a calendar of sorts, and that energy gets repeated in patterns because the solar system is a single body. The solar system used to be kind of like this swirling cloud, and then it started to collect into different planets and things like that. And all the planets are separated by the golden ratio, which means that at one point, we were just like this twisted tornado of dust swirling around the central star, which is, the forming star of the sun. And so, like, the solar system to me is far more serious than any of these religious prophecies and narratives. And I do believe that astrology is going to play a huge part because what we have is a major crux between the return of the age of Aquarius, which is about every 2020 years, there's a changing of the equinox due to a tilt of the earth, which is that the sky starts to spin by about 30 degrees. And as you know, 30 degrees goes into 360 12 times, which means that the solar system can be divided up into 12 astrology signs, which is 30 degrees each. So when the sky shifts by 30 degrees, what you have is an entire cosmic shift, or what we refer to as a new zodiacal age or an astrological age. And so there's this a lot of reason to believe that whatever, the Christ energy was, or mythology, whatever you want to call it, whatever Christ was, that it was the return of a new astrology age. And we know this because the calendar reset to the year zero around that time. And Christ had referred to himself as the Passover lamb. So we were changing from the age of Aries into the age of Pisces. And today Christ is represented by the ichthys fish, and ichthys in Greek is piscis, or Pisces, which means fish, and that's where the word fish comes from. So that little fish symbol that represents Jesus today is in fact because we had changed from the age of Aries into the age of Pisces. Well, the age of Pisces is now coming to a close because that was 2020 years ago. And so we are entering the age of Aquarius, and where things get a little bit weird is that the Civil War in America, the emancipation of Black people, which really sent a message around the world to end slavery worldwide, is in fact about one Neptune orbit coming up here. So Neptune orbits, I think, let me just be exact, I think it's like 160 years. Let me just look it up while I'm talking. Neptune orbit. Like a 5-year time period. And then you have other things happening as well. And so when you have these major returns happening, from, the dawn of America, which was a major war then, and a shift in the Earth's, history, and you have all these other, points of interest colliding with each other, the odds that we are not going to end up in a magnified, huge point of transformation is, I think, astronomically impossible. I think that we are going to go through some serious fucking stuff. And again, this is based off of what I believe is happening in astrology. And it may not happen, right? Like maybe this is all theoretical, but I do believe in astrology, and this is one of the things that I do believe in. So when it comes to Israel and these other countries like Palestine and things like that, I don't believe in the Torah. I believe that the Torah is a horrible book. I think there's beautiful stuff in it, but it's bigoted. I don't believe in the quote unquote Jewish identity and the right to steal the land from Palestine based on the Torah. I don't believe that that's real. Adam and Eve never existed. There was no such thing as talking snakes. There was none of this stuff, right? And it's very bigoted. It's very homophobic. The Bible is homophobic, and it calls for the death of homosexuals in Leviticus 20:13, which is extreme bigotry and fucking insanity. I cannot and will not ever stand behind any Abrahamic belief system. Whether you call yourself Christian, Jewish, or Muslim, I will never stand behind you. I will, except for, when it comes to, I think, some morals or things that are not related to this fiction. But we're in a time where these, religious cults, and they are cults, are at a massive war for resources. And Israel doesn't really have the right to exist. And I believe that Israel is extremely manipulative. Their belief that they are like these chosen people from God is complete fiction. There's no such thing as a chosen race. They're actually related to ancient Phoenicians. The Phoenicians were, a Mediterranean people who lived along the coast in what we refer to as the Middle East today. The people who are calling themselves Jews today are really just random people. I mean, if anything, they have some Arabic blood in their gene pool, but they are not some chosen holy people. There's no such thing. The Bible is not real. There is no God who allowed people to live for 900 years. There's no half angel Nephilim people. There's no talking snakes. There's no Garden of Eden. None of this stuff is real. There's no Leviathan fire-breathing dragons. None of this stuff is real. Homosexuals are not ordered by God, the creator of the universe, to be executed. All of this stuff is complete delusion. The Torah is a complete work of fiction. Now, these people have old money, and because they have racist beliefs that they are somehow chosen and special above other people, they do have hidden agendas, and they absolutely don't necessarily care about you. And they certainly don't care about the Palestinians, and we know this because they stole their land from them. they stole the land from the Palestinians and told them that they're the chosen people and that God said that they can take that land from them. And that is pure nonsense. The Torah is insane. They've been doing this to gay people. They've been persecuting gay people using the Torah. They have been pushing all kinds of hateful beliefs. Male genital mutilation, which is referred to as circumcision in worldwide, is because of the Torah. There's all kinds of really insane things that come out of this book of fiction that I will never stand behind. And so when they took this land from the Palestinians in around the year 1950, I think it was 1948-ish, is when they really started to claim that it was their land. That was very recent. 1948 wasn't even 100 years ago. These people want their land back. When it comes to World War II, there was no what we refer to as a holy war. There was a genocide, but that was largely National Socialists from Germany who were targeting many different groups, including 8 million Soviets. In fact, by far, the Soviets were the largest group who were genocided. It was 8 million Soviets who were genocided, and 5 million were of Polish people were genocided. The entire homosexual, gay crowd or demographic within Nazi Germany who were out of the closet had also been executed and tortured and thrown into concentration camps. So, Nazi Germany, there was no what we refer to today as the quote unquote Holy War or the Holocaust. It was a genocide, a eugenics genocide. What happened was, because there were so many people who were slaughtered during this time, the people who were the most united were able to then manipulate massive reparations worldwide out of this. So most of what Hitler hated about the people who were calling themselves Jewish was a political group. They weren't a race. They were a political group. And their belief system did not cooperate with the National Socialist political party within Nazi Germany. And so after the war was over, there was a huge agenda behind this political group who referred to themselves as Jews to start taking all kinds of reparations and claiming that World War II was a religious war against them, when in fact, that's not what it was. It was a massive genocide against all people. And I mean, like I said, there was 8 million Soviets who were slaughtered. There were 5 million Polish people who were slaughtered. I'm one of those people who doesn't fully believe that 6 million Jews were slaughtered, as they called themselves, because I believe that they botched that number so that they can continue to demand reparations and money from, basically they stole reparations money from World War II, and they buried the genocide that took place against the gay people, largely of which was, based upon the hate speech written in their Torah. Like, one of the reasons Hitler hated gay people was because the Torah, the Abrahamic Torah that they take credit for, says that God hates gay people. And so Hitler had got it into his mind that based upon the Torah, we should execute gay people. That was the Jewish people who had created that. And they've done it for 3,000 fucking years. For 3,000 years, they have printed Torahs telling people to kill homosexuals. They are not victims. You are not a victim when you are a bigoted group who prints books telling people to kill minorities, and then you turn around and claim that there's a holy war against you and you're being persecuted. Then, bitch, why are you printing books telling people to execute homosexuals? There is no God. There's no Adam and Eve. You have no right. You have no right to print books telling people to execute homosexuals. And the Jews did that. And they're still doing it today. They stand by the Torah, and as they spit in your face and play victims, they hold up a Torah in your fucking face, which in that book declares that God demands we execute homosexuals. These people are hypocrites. The book is pure fiction. There is no Adam and Eve. I don't believe in the history. None of this stuff turns out to be scientifically true. There's no Garden of Eden. There's no Leviathan dragons. There's no Nephilim angel people. None of this stuff is real. And yet, they hold it up and they wave it in your face and they tell you this is God's word. And in that book, it tells people to kill homosexuals. I will not and cannot and never will stand by it. Never will I fucking stand by it. And so when they decided to claim that World War II was all about themselves, That's another thing that really fucking disgusts me, because when you look up the statistics, again, 8 million of the people who were slaughtered, the largest number by far were Soviets. They were not quote unquote Jews as these religious people are identifying themselves. They were Soviets. Soviets. Where's the reparations and the sympathy and the condolences for the World War II genocide against the Soviets and the Polish people? You never hear about them, even though they were the largest numbers. You never hear about them. Why don't we hear about them? Because this religious group wants all kinds of money and handouts, and they know that they can rob tragedies. They can rob and pervert the course of justice when it comes to reparations money after wars. And so they're stealing war money. And when they decided to steal the land from the Palestinians and said that it was the Holy Land and that God declared they're allowed to take that land, I call fucking bullshit on that too. You're not allowed to steal land from the Palestinians. I don't agree with Islam, but I also don't think that being Palestinian makes you Islamic by nature. You have no right to steal Palestinian land from them. Many of those people, I'm sure, were fucking atheists, secular. And you stole their land. They don't even believe in any of this stuff. So all this talk about how the Palestinians are Islamic and Islam deserves to disappear more than Judaism is absolute nonsense, and I refuse to stand behind that. I don't believe in Abrahamic religions. And so when the people who call themselves Israelis have been stealing this land from the Palestinians in the name of the Torah, what do you think's going to happen? Eventually, it's going to erupt into war. And when you have large astrological cataclysms, and you have these religious groups who are stealing grant money, stealing court money, stealing reparations money, spreading bigotry, playing the victim as they spread bigotry, pushing double standards, asking America to fight for their fucking people, to die for their fucking people, when they do barely anything for us. Halfway around the world, asking our relatives to die. I have relatives who fought in Iraq. People who are destroyed today because of these religious wars. And largely that is what it was. And that is what it was. And 9/11 happened for many fucking different reasons. And a huge part of this goes back to the fact that these group of people who called themselves the Holy People stole Palestine and started calling it Israel. They stole it. They're not going to go down without a fight. And if you think they're going to go down without a fight, you're living in a fucking candy land. There is no such thing as God in the Torah. It's not real. None of these prophecies that people are believing in and waiting for are going to happen. They're not real. It's not real. There is no return of Jesus on a magical unicorn in the sky. It's not going to happen. There's no rapture. There's no judgment day. The world's not going to end. The Jewish people are not going to take back the world in the name of their God. There is no such thing. It's a fictional belief system. It's a cult. It's no different than the Heaven's Gate cult, who has people drink Kool-Aid so that they can disappear and wake up in heaven on a comet somewhere. It's fiction. And we're being dragged into their war. It's fiction. And it's slaughtering homosexuals worldwide who've done nothing to these people. Innocent people who are being told that they must die because the Torah said so. Well, I refuse to stand by any of that. That's for fucking sure. But one thing that's definitely going to happen is the Palestinians aren't going to go down without a fight. You stole their land from them. You can't steal from people. You don't get to steal from people and say God said I'm allowed to. You don't get to fucking rob people, disenfranchise them, commit genocide and ethnic cleansing, and say that you're allowed to and you've done nothing wrong because you're chosen. You don't get to erase homosexuals. You don't get to target minorities and say, ew, you're gross. God said so. I'm allowed to. I'm a victim. You're the evil doer. We did nothing wrong. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. And karma is going to happen because Palestinians want their land back. And we're coming up on a cataclysm. You guys think that this is just, some eschatology for Christianity? No, we're not in some magical end times for Christianity. And we're not in some big political drama. This is an astrological alignment, a very real astrological alignment, and it's been happening since the dawn of time. For hundreds of thousands of years, since humanity's existed, we've gone through astrological cycles. And we're going through one now. and things are going to happen. I predicted that this war was going to erupt a couple years ago. I said that the state of Israel is going to be called into question and that we're going to enter into a war and that World War II energy is going to be revisited and that the declaration of Israel is going to be called back into question. And so is the Civil War. The Civil War is going to come back to full fucking force. If you think it's not, you're delusional. In America, the Civil War is going to come back. Neptune is returning for the Civil War, along with these other events. And the Pluto return for America, which is the biggest fucking event, with the Age of Aquarius. The Pluto return is June 14th, which is going to call into question the legitimacy of America. And not just the legitimacy, but we're going to fight for it. We're going to fight for it in one way or another. And I don't know what's going to happen, but we're certainly coming up on one full planetary revolution, one Pluto return for America. And that's going to be huge. All of this stuff I've been telling you guys for years is going to happen. And it's happening. And it's going to get crazier. Hopefully we can stop it. Hopefully you guys can shift your mind and stop believing in fantasies. And maybe you can change it. Maybe you can protest these wars. Maybe you can see right from wrong and stop allowing religious people to play victims, to call you Nazis, to call you evil, to call you disgusting, to call you infidels, to call you God's trash, to call you blasphemers, to call you evildoers and devil worshippers, and to bankrupt you, and to ruin you, and to steal your property and cancel you. When are you going to stand up against this fucking religious bullshit? When are you going to stand up against eunuchs mad and child predators? Stand the fuck up. This stuff is happening and it's going to get fucking serious. I've been telling you guys for fucking years. You guys want to make me out to be crazy. Well, look, it's happening. Here we are. Years ago, I said the legitimacy of Israel is going to be called into fucking question. I just spoke with, and I'm not going to mention his name, but one of my best friends from Graal. And I told him just a year ago, we did the math and we said in a couple years, Israel, the legitimacy of Israel and its existence is going to be 100% declared, like at war. And here we are. It just happened. We just called it a year ago. We literally just said a year ago, this is going to happen in a year or two. And it did. And it fucking did. And it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening, and it's because these astrological energies have far more energy, far more power than we will ever have in this world.